Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Tago Cyber's channel. We're sitting here again with Shannon. We wanted to talk about some recent events again, but first off, Shannon, how is your day going so far?
Great. School is over, so glad to be through a year of virtual learning.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the weirdest years for kids for school in recent history, and I hope
Yeah.
next year they can get back to their standard curriculum and everyone can be back on pace. Kids need that time, right?
Oh, no, absolutely. And the kids are really excited to go back to school in the fall, so I hope it's going to happen.
Yeah, me too. So, kind of diving in here, this wanted to have an update on the Colonial Pipeline hack. Obviously, now that it's done and over, now the real work starts, right? Now we need to figure out what we can do to stop this from happening again. And there's been lots of talks going on. One of the things that seems to be definitely happening is anytime any sort of outlier like this receives any sort of cybersecurity attack at all, the federal government needs to be notified right away. Do you think this is obviously a positive thing? And do you think this is something that should have been going on a lot sooner?
I think so. I think we do need to get law enforcement and some of the government agencies like CISA involved at an early stage so that they can help protect not only the organization that's been attacked, but other organizations that are perhaps in the same industry that may face the same kind of attacks. So it's interesting now to see that the administration is paying attention to the security of our critical infrastructure. So, following the Colonial Pipeline attack, now the administration has come out and basically said all pipelines need to start with a cybersecurity risk assessment. And from that assessment, they can move forward into discovering what their vulnerabilities are, closing those vulnerabilities, and having better protection. So, starting off with this cybersecurity risk assessment is a great step. And I think it shouldn't only apply to pipelines, it should apply to all critical infrastructure.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that the world that we live in is often reactionary instead of proactive, but I guess the old phrase better late than never comes into play there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a good first step. And I'm glad I'm not definitely not glad that an attack like this happened, but I'm glad now that there's some attention being paid to it. Because like we discussed earlier, people have been raising the flag for a little while, like, hey, this is something that we need to pay attention to. And now with the attack, and now with I think the general public seeing the effects of the attack that it has on everybody, we're getting some attention paid to it. And now the administration and the government is paying attention and taking some action. So
Yeah, and people are kind of speculating, would not giving these cyber attacks such a sensationalist discussion and posting them everywhere as if it's a humongous deal. Do you think that could help prevent them further? This goes back to the idea of same thing happened when it came to shootings, and then someone would publicize the people, and then people would be like, oh, maybe I could potentially do something like that. Do you think that's having kind of an echo effect, and we should maybe taper that back a little bit?
I'm a little torn on that. I think we do need to publicize the attacks because the attacks have wide-ranging implications beyond just the organization that is attacked. But a lot of times, ransomware attacks also include a data breach component to it.
Mhm.
So, whereas if the company has your information, now your information may have been compromised. And a lot of times, consumers find out that they've been a victim of a data breach due to the fact that news comes out about an attack like this. Organizations have not necessarily been forthcoming in providing information when they are attacked and letting consumers know, hey, your information may have been compromised. So I think it's good that we continue to let people know about the attacks that are happening, because if we stop telling people that attacks are happening, they might think that they're not happening at all. So
Good point.
it's a little catch 22 between like
Yeah.
publicizing too much information, and letting people know that's happening, and then also just the attention that's gathered and garnered through the attacks. I did read an interesting article that talked about how perhaps the ransomware attack on Colonial Pipeline was assisted by self-promoting cybersecurity companies.
Ooh.
The article basically explored how a cybersecurity company found flaws within the DarkSide ransomware's code and publicized the information about the flaw that they found, which in turn DarkSide basically came out and said, thanks, so and so cybersecurity company, for finding the flaw. You've made our code even better. We've gone and fixed the flaws. Good luck trying to get out of our next ransomware attack, basically.
Nice.
So, I think to some degree, maybe we can stop publicizing when we find flaws in code of ransomware attackers and cyber attackers, and just allow those flaws to continue to enable us to break the encryption and break these cyber attacks when they happen, so that we're not giving the cyber criminals information that they need to make their attacks better and more efficient.
Yeah, I guess it's a double-edged sword when it comes to the freedom of information. I guess expecting people not to be sensationalist is just a losing battle. People are going to react to things in all sorts of wild ways, but the free flow of information is technically a fair thing to stand on. And yeah, maybe you shouldn't tell your enemies that, hey, we found your trump card. They can't just go and fix it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
It's,
If there's a flaw in the code, allow it to exist.
Yeah, that sounds like a bad strategic move on the part of these security companies. But so moving on, then this is something you had touched on too, and it seems to be something that's being echoed across the internet now, in that this really shows that private and public security companies should be coming together. There should be more people discussing potential ways to handle these kind of situations, and the overall, it's just going to be collaboration that really gets us through these attacks. How would you say that's fair, and that this is the sentiment that needs to happen going forward?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Information sharing is vital, and that's one of the reasons why we created our threat intelligence platform, is to be able to gather all the disparate information that's out there to kind of create one collective source of threat intelligence. So an organization really can defend itself. They don't have to go out to 50 different websites and 50 different sources to get the information that they need to protect the enterprise. And then the cybersecurity companies, really trying to get us to work together and collaborate and share the information that we see about attacks. It's the idea of a collective defense,
Mhm.
so that we're better together than we are apart.
That's true. What is it? The whole is more than the sum of its parts, kind of thing. That's the
Exactly.
story of humanity. Work together, guys. If we're collective.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
All right, Shannon. Well, thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing your thoughts on this and passing. And now, like I said, the Colonial Pipeline hack is now in the past. We can only learn from it and grow further from here. So, Shannon, thanks again. If there's any questions, send them over to us. We'll be happy to answer them for you. And stay tuned for some more news and updates coming soon. Shannon, have a wonderful day.
Thanks. You too, Michael.